part of our day as servers of the light would be to take even a few minutes to send light to others. And you know, the conduits of light are the angelic realm. The angelic realm and the archangelic realm are actually the ones that bring the light from source down through the planes, creating and maintaining the different dimensions. They're the servers of the light. And so if we ask them to take light to a situation or to a person, you know, it's very non-invasive. It's one thing to pray, you know, let's say a very dear friend doesn't have a job. If we pray, Lord, help them find a job, and this is the way, at least in the yogic tradition anyway, help them find a job. Well, you know, it might be for their highest learning right now not to have a job, because they're learning trust and faith and all those really challenging things that you learn when you're unemployed, and many people are going through that. They're learning forgiveness and understanding, and they get proactive and to get maybe creative. But if we ask the ones of the light, the angelic realm, to take light into their hearts or into their consciousness, what we're asking them to do really is very non-invasive, in the sense that all we're asking is that their vibration be lifted so that when they receive the light, they can see the next step that they should take in their lives. So it's a very pure way of praying, and it takes moments, but really I would love to see us commit as a group, because there's plenty of people here and many more going to be joining us at home, is after your prayer time or your meditation, just ask the angelic realm. I think it was Doreen Virtue who said something very, very sweet. It always stuck with me. She said, there's so many unemployed angels. Because being a free will dimension, they can only do so much for us. We have to ask for their help. And remember, we talked about that last week. We said, you know, sometimes we don't ask for help because we don't necessarily want help, because we're not ready to change. We're not ready to give up a certain thing. But we can also ask for help to get out of our stuckness, and then also begin to work with the angelic realm. If we ask them to take light to a person, to a situation, to the political parties, to the earth, to the environment, then everyone involved in that, like say the oil spill a year or two ago, if we just sent light to that, then not only will it help heal the oceans, but it helps the people who are involved or responsible for that spill to see their mistakes. And then we're not judging, because we're all about raising our vibration, right? And any judgment and you know, wagging of the finger just takes the vibration just goes down. So love is key, and light is key to love. And last week we talked about the spiritual fire, the Prem Agni, and we're going to work a little bit more with that this week. But Emanuel Swedenborg said, love is the essence of spiritual fire. Love is the essence of spiritual fire. And if we're moving into the Aquarian Age, we know that we're moving into the age of deeper love and understanding, because it's that love that will bring peace. It's the love that forgives. Wisdom can understand, but love is needed to forgive. And so a couple of things. We think we know how to love. We hold a baby in our arms, we hold puppies, we, you know, find the face of our beloved companion. we see and enjoy our families, our parents and such. We think we know how to love. But a lot of the love that we do is instinctual love. And it's hard to tell the difference because the body is built for instincts. Here's an interesting scientific fact, since I look like I'm in a laboratory. Do you know that when you kiss, if you were to kiss somebody, like for the first time, within seconds, your brain has analyzed the saliva of that person and is telling you whether or not that person's a good mate for you? That's why often we're utterly attracted to people who are really on the outside no good for us, but the body's saying, hey, don't let that person go, you'd make great babies. You know? This body is so intelligent. Within seconds, it's got the saliva analyzed, right? So really begs the question, what is love? What is true love? What is love of the soul? And here's a few things that the mystics who really specialize in love, they say. One is love has to be cultivated. True divine love is cultivated because the veil that we came in on is so thick that we're most of the time running on love, on instinctual love. So what happens if you say you love a friend? That's why family's so great, you know. You're kind of stuck with each other. You've got each other's, you know, the body's the other encouraging. You know why we can't get away from our family even when it's toxic? Because our DNA are vibrating. I mean, you go into the metaphysics of the connection and family. It's fascinating from a spiritual level, and we will be going into that in our study of spiritual arts. So we vibrate with our family. That's why we should always have children constantly, consciously, because those children constantly. Ron, don't listen to that. Don't have children constantly. We can't handle too many. I might have dreamed the other night that my daughter had a baby after the baby she just had. So no. Consciously have children. Those children that we have are carrying, we are giving them the vibration of our ancestry and everything that we've done. So when we're ready to conceive, if we do that in pure divine love, we call that creates such a vibration between the two that calls in a particular soul that can raise the vibration of the lineage. But what happens, let's continue in this thing with children. So the children get to be about 2 years old, and they do exactly what they're supposed to do at 2 years old. They find that they can say no. And they test us because that's the way that they learn their willpower. We learn from 2, 3, 4 years old, we learn to work with our willpower. And in the New Age teachings, we're teaching our children to direct their energy, redirect it when it's in a channel that's not conductive, but we don't break their willpower. We're never to break our children's willpower. But they start to really get us, you know, right? Especially when they get a little older, 13, 14, 15, and then all of a sudden, where's the love? Takes a lot of patience, doesn't it? Now, it helps that we're genetically tied to them. Right? It does. But we're not genetically tied to their father or mother. We need to generate love. The heart center, love needs to be created. So what does that mean? We talked about thoughts last week. We talked about shooting Prem Agni arrows into negative thoughts and canceling thoughts. You know, then the other aspect of that is to create a consciousness to where when we see each other, we are always looking for each other's gifts. How easy is a parent to a child, or a child to a parent, or one partner to another partner? You get living with each other, and all of a sudden those things that you thought were cute are now downright obnoxious. So what does that mean? If we're in instinctual human love, especially the male, because back in the day, you know, when the earth wasn't populated, the men were supposed to populate the earth. So, you know, it's really, you know, then it's like, okay, next. So to cultivate love, to see each other, to remember why we love, to spend special time together, to do something that the child or the partner or the parent, you know. That's why last week we quoted Mother Teresa, and she said, if you want to do what I do, start in your home with your family. When was the last time you went to your parents' house who tells the same story over and over again, sat down, made yourself a cup of tea, and listened to their stories over and over again with all the love in your heart? That's cultivating love. And we also talked about, you know, what it's like in our life review. If you make a habit of doing that with everyone in your life, including your boss and your neighbors, not to say, you know, if you got a neighbor that who's lonely, catches you all the time, and makes you late, you're going to have to put boundaries up. That's another, you know, or your parent, you know, you have to, there's such a thing as boundaries. But we're just saying, if there's people that you've either started to fall out of love with, or the infatuation, or, you know, you're just beginning to see your child as a nest of troubles and karma, it's time to cultivate love and a vision for their highest accomplishments. And so, and here's another thing about love. And this especially comes in devotion, because if we don't have an aspect of God that we can feel close to, and then you come into a yoga class, or you come into a meditation, or you go to church and you're told to love God, and you say, well, how can I love God? I have a fearful, you know, God is going to put me into hell if I do something wrong. So one thing is, create a concept of God you can get close to. Create a concept of God that you can, God is all love. The projection from Source is love. It just, when it gets down-stepped to the different dimensions, especially when you come in 3D, it's the hardest place to find true love, but it's the greatest place to grow spiritually. That's why we all wanted to be here. And that's why we wanted to all be here now, because if we do just these little things, we are mystics in the making. So you get a concept of the divine that isn't scary, isn't going to be vindictive. That's why the Divine Mother that's coming onto the earth plane now in this new age, she's a real sweet one. Find a, you know, an aspect like Mother Mary, the Master Mary, or Kuan Yin, or nature, and cultivate love, and cultivate and feel that love. But here's the underscoring, the big thing. Whether you're talking about a human or the divine, wanting to love is loving. In other words, you don't have to have that warm, fuzzy feeling that we equate with falling in love or being in love, because sometimes that feeling is not going to be available to us because of all the things that are happening in our lives. So if we intend to love, whether it's in meditation or in listening to a loved one or someone we work with, if we intend to love them, we're loving. We've given intention to love. So don't think something's broken if it's not warm and puppy or kitty cattish, you know, feeling. You know, it's not that, oh. Sometimes that's taken away from us so that we can find divine love using our will and cultivate greater storehouses of that will. So if you're going through, every mystic has been through what's known as the dark night of the soul. It's when you question not only the value of your life, but is there a God? You could be on the spiritual path, for there have been great saints who have been on this path for decades, who have gone through, and I think Trisha of Lisieux, the little flower, right before she had tuberculosis, and she suffered terribly. And during that, she went through a terrific dark night of the soul where she was known as a lover of the divine. And she questioned her love, she questioned God, she questioned her life, she questioned everything for a moment. And it was exactly what she needed, because as great as a lover as she was, the divine knew she could hold even more. So the divine withheld itself from her. She had to dig deeper, and then she became what she is to all of us now. And not only that, but when she left this plane, she was able to even go to a higher inner state because of this capacity to love. But the dark night of the soul will come to every devotee, and it's a very challenging thing to go through. All you have to do to get through it, though, is will to love, will to trust, will to believe in everything that you've cultivated while you were in the daylight. You know, that's why Lahiri Mahashaya said, the great yogi said, if you want God to be your winter guest, you must invite him in the summer of your life. You know, another way of saying is, you know, make hay while the sun shines. Do all these practices while we have our health and our emotional and mental well-being. There's not a day to waste. We said that last week, and there's now even less days to waste and less time to waste.